He wanted that $2 million. He wanted that $2 million. And after talking to that financial advisor, when they looked at your account, I mean, I feel like I need a shower. It was the tactics that he was using were just disgusting.
Yeah, they were dirty tactics.
They were, I mean, but think about it. If they can charge you 1% on your $2 million portfolio, that's just your account, right?
Yeah.
But he's thinking about all of the other accounts. He's thinking about my account. I mean, we have 6 or 7 other investment accounts. If he could get 1% across all of our portfolios, oh, that's a big fish. And the tactics that he was using, guys, we have to share this with you because we just spoke to a financial advisor. And for anyone that is on this journey towards financial independence, you are going to be faced with this issue at one point or another. When your account starts to grow to these levels, you're going to get these calls, you're going to get these conversations, and they're going to use the most scandalous tactics to try to manage your money. Hey guys, it's Aman
and Christina
from Our Rich Journey. So we just had a very interesting conversation with a financial advisor. If you guys have been following our journey, you know that Christina and I achieved financial independence by investing in stocks, in real estate, and we were able to build up our portfolios to a level that we could live off of these portfolios, and we manage those portfolios ourselves. Well, recently, we got a call from a financial advisor because we were interested in a particular product at this firm. And the conversation that we had with this financial advisor was an opportunity for us to share some of the tactics that these financial advisors will try to use in order to manage your money.
So just to give you a little bit of a background, we wanted to apply for a securities-backed line of credit. And in order to do this with our brokerage firm, we actually were forced to have a conversation with their financial advisor before they even started our application. Now, we were trying to look at different options for purchasing real estate here in Portugal, and a securities-backed line of credit was something that we were considering. We have actually purchased 3 properties here in Portugal. We did them all cash, and so this was just another option that we were exploring. But we had such an interesting conversation with this financial advisor who, quite frankly, we didn't even want to talk to, but we noticed some very specific things that he was trying to do in order to get us to allow him to manage our accounts. Now, let me be clear, this was just based off of my account, but there were some things that he did to try and also get Aman's accounts under his management too. So we're gonna talk about all of the little tricks that he played on us and our experience with this financial advisor.
Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking about why are they applying for a securities-backed line of credit? Well, this is actually a tactic that lots of wealthy people use, and I will use Jeff Bezos, for example. Whenever Jeff Bezos wants to make a big purchase or another investment, he doesn't go and sell all of his Amazon stock because if he did that, he would have to pay a really high tax bill. So instead, he borrows from those equities. And this is something that Christina and I have been faced with recently because our accounts have grown significantly. And if we want to use the profits from those accounts to buy, let's say, real estate, we'd have to sell those equities and we would incur a tax bill, up to 20% or more in some cases after selling those equities. So one of the options that we have been exploring is instead of selling our equities, is borrowing against those equities. And we're gonna do a whole video on the pros and cons and what we decided to do. So just know that this is what we were exploring when we had to have this conversation with the financial advisor.
So if you are new to our channel, it's really important to point out that we do not have financial advisors. We do our own research about our own investments, and we pick our own investments and manage our account ourselves. We have had really great returns doing this. In fact, this year alone, we've had returns of 37% on our portfolio. So we feel really confident with our investments and how it's been doing. Now, using a financial advisor would mean we would lose all of that control over our portfolio, we would have to pay higher fees, and we would likely also get subpar results with the financial advisor.
Oh, we definitely wouldn't get 37% with a financial advisor because we can say this with a level of confidence. We have seen enough portfolios from some of the people that we talk to to know that their financial advisors are not getting those types of returns. Their financial advisors are putting them in the most expensive investments, the investments that give the financial advisor the greatest commission and that don't look out for the interests of the person that they're supposed to be investing for. And we've seen this time and time again. People have come to us and say, I need to fire my financial advisor. And now we can't tell you what to do, but we can just share our own experience. And what we have found is that by using the principles that we've talked about in hundreds of our videos, that if you have a consistent plan, you can get amazing returns.
So let's get started and talk about these really interesting tactics that this financial advisor tried to use on us. Now, keep in mind again that this was just based off of my standard brokerage account. So the very first tactic that he used is gathering basic information. And generally you think like this is a necessary process, right? But the goal for gathering the information that he was doing was to really give him an idea of what he's working with.
I love that. What he is working with so that he can exploit it. No. But the idea of what he is working with, he is measuring you up.
Yes, so this is really interesting because we have our money in various different accounts and with various different brokerage firms. So this financial advisor was saying, okay, what other accounts do you have? I see you have this with us, but do you have other accounts somewhere else? And we said yes. And he had us explore all of that, tell him the balances of that. And then when he's done talking to me about my different accounts, then he moved on to Aman, who wasn't even in this whole conversation because again, this was for my individual standard brokerage account. But they asked Aman, okay, so how much money do you have in your standard brokerage account? It's with a different firm? Okay. What about your IRAs? What about your HSA? How much do you have in those accounts? So he was really getting an idea of what is the mass total of our overall portfolio and really digging in to get those details.
And really what this comes down to is him trying to figure out the assets under management that he can pull within his own brokerage. Because these financial advisors, they charge 1% to 2% to manage all of your assets. So the greater the balance that he can manage, the more money that he can make each and every year, regardless of what your portfolio is doing. So in Christina's case, let's say he took on that $2 million. If he charged her 1%, that would be $20,000 a year that he would get to invest her money. If it was 2%, that would be $40,000 a year just to manage her portfolio, something that is invested in very straightforward assets.
So after he got the information from us, this is where he starts really hounding us with technical jargon. So he uses things like tax loss harvesting or rebalancing or allocation. What's your asset allocation? Now, we know all of these terms inside and out, but what he was really trying to do was test us on this jargon to test our financial literacy.
Oh, it was one of those like, do you know this? Okay, you know this. Okay, do you know this? Okay. And I feel like we had him on his back feet, like he was backing up, because everything he threw at us, we knew the answers to it. We could hold our own. Unfortunately, when people get to this phase of the conversation with the financial advisor, this is where they really take full advantage of you. They start to throw these terms at you, and sometimes you don't know what they're talking about, but you fail to ask the follow-up questions like, no, I don't know what that is, but can you explain it to me? Instead, you tend to retreat, and then at that point, the financial advisor knows that they are in control.
Yes, because they have this certain authority over you. They're basically teaching you about investing and saying, you know, I could actually do this for you.
I could take a little bit of this off of your shoulders. You don't need to bother with all of this technical stuff.
Yes, so one of the things to really address that is financial literacy. Take some time understanding some basic terms about investing. Now, if you are interested in really diving deep into stock market investing, we have a course for stock market investing. We'll leave a link for that in the description below, but it's more than 4 hours of video. It helps you develop your own unique investment plan. If you're interested, you can go to ourrichjourney.com. Now let's go to the next tactic because it sort of falls in line after they use all this technical jargon. We have displayed that we know all the technical jargon that they're using. Then they turn to flattery. So this guy, after we said, yes, we know tax loss harvesting, this is what it is. Yes, we understand rebalancing, this is how we do it. Yes, we know asset allocation. This is our asset allocation. The flattery comes in. Wow, you really know what you're talking about. That's really impressive. That not a lot of people know that. So they tend to try and lean towards flattery at that point.
But there's a strategy to this flattery. I think the flattery is almost like how you give flattery to a very young child for knowing, okay, yes, you guys get the basics, but still there are levels to this that you guys probably haven't touched yet. But I'm so proud of what you're able to do thus far. And the flattery really brings us to the next tactic, which is the friendliness, the friendship that they try to establish with you. Because who wouldn't want to hand their money over to someone that they could be good friends with?
So in order to do this, they actually sort of ask you these basic questions that pretty much everyone says yes to. So, oh, what do you like to do on your spare time? Do you like to travel? And it's like, a lot of people like to travel. So yes, our answer is yes, we love to travel. And then he says, oh, I really love to travel too. Actually, where have you been? So we start saying all the places that we've been. And then he says, gosh, my wife and I, we really want to travel to Europe, just like you. Can you give us some tips on where we should travel? So it's this whole type of trying to be friends, trying to create a bond, trying to create some commonality between us.
Now, this rapport that they are establishing, I know we sound cynical and skeptical, but we have to, because we understand that these types of tactics are something that all salespeople use. If you go to a car dealership, if you are looking at a house, if you are looking at a timeshare, any type of investment or thing that you are going to buy, these are the typical tactics that they use. And friendship and flattery, those are really, really big ones.
So now he's used all of these various different stages so far. He still hasn't been able to hook us. So what comes next? The fear tactics.
Oh, I'm gonna scare him now.
That is exactly the thing he does. So he starts talking about the upcoming elections. You know, it's very divisive and the stock market will really take a hit. There's so much things that can happen as a result of these elections. How are you prepared to handle this? So there is a lot of for someone who doesn't understand that we are dollar cost averaging, that idea of this upcoming sudden change in the stock market could be very fearful for beginning investors.
Yeah, when he asked us that question, I almost fell out of the seat laughing, because the way he said it, he said, what is your strategy for investing during this time when you have all this uncertainty in the elections? And I'm like, the elections happen every 4 years. We have been investing during elections for a very long time. We have been investing during unrest, and all these things that are happening right now, they have happened year after year after year. So it's nothing new, but it is a really easy tactic to use right now because a lot of people are scared about all the uncertainty that surrounds an election. So to me, this is one of the most disgusting things that anyone can do to try to get you to invest, to play off of your fears, your emotions, or your insecurities, and tell you that somehow we can make all of these things right if you give us your money. This is terrible.
So now when all those things failed.
Oh, because we weren't budging.
Yes.
We were straight faced.
It's like he had a list of things. Okay, that didn't work, let's move on to this. The next thing that he moved on to was referencing other big clients. So for example, he said, you know what, I actually had a couple and they had other accounts with a different brokerage firm and they moved $6 million over to me. So I just managed their $6 million account. They get to travel all the time. They don't even have to worry about anything.
But that wasn't the big part that made me laugh. The part that made me laugh is that, first of all, he says this to kind of lend some street credibility to him. That, hey, I got plenty of rich clients. I manage a ton of money, and people are always bringing their money over. Mm-hmm. But the thing that had me chuckle a bit was that he said that for every $1 million that they brought over, they gave that couple an incentive, right? And I think he said, did he say $1,000 for every $1 million they brought over?
Yes.
And the reason why I had to laugh was because that is 0.1%. That is a 0.1% incentive. So if you look at it from the standpoint of every $100 that they brought over to this other brokerage, he gave them 1 penny.
Yes. And that's the next tactic, because he tried to use that on us also. He tried to incentivize us and said, you know what? For every $1 million that you have in your other accounts, when you bring them over, we will give you $1,000. And in my head, I was thinking, okay, let me do this math really quick. I didn't say it out loud. I was like, that's 1%. But then after I thought about it more, I said, that's not even 1%. That is 0.1% that he is offering for us to move our money over to him so that he can begin managing it at a much higher fee. So again, all of these different tactics that he goes through with trying to, in the end, incentivize us for us to give him more money and to allow him to manage all of our accounts.
So we're having a lot of fun talking about this, but the reason why we bring this up and the reason why we have never used a financial advisor is because studies have shown that time and time again that these financial advisors underperform the stock market. When an individual invests on their own and they invest in low-cost index funds that track the S&P 500 or the total stock market, they perform better than 80% of financial advisors. So if you are an individual investor, we believe strongly that once you learn this information, which is not very hard to learn, you can manage your own portfolio and you can invest in low-cost index funds that track the total stock market, and you will outperform 80% of these people that are trying to manage your money.
Now, again, if you are interested in learning how to invest on your own so you can take control of your own investment portfolio, we have a stock market investing course of more than 4 hours of video that allows you to create your own unique stock investment plan. So you can go to ourrichjourney.com to check out the course. We'll also leave a link below. So just to conclude this video, if we haven't been clear enough, we did not sign up for that financial advisor's services. We also didn't end up going with the securities-backed line of credit. And if you guys are interested in learning more about that or why we didn't ultimately decide to do that, leave a comment below and we can make a whole video on that. But hopefully this video gave you some food for thought and really allows you to think about how the financial advisors can try to sort of manipulate you or use these different tactics to try and get you to allow them to control your money. So if you like this video, please make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and join the journey.